All right, guys, it is that time again. Welcome along to episode 3 of Nitro Nights with me, Tom Deacon. It is the show for you guys who love your esports racing to get involved in. So welcome back if you are rejoining us. And if this is your first time, there is an episode every single week dropping for you on Monday, Wednesday, and on Friday. It will give you everything you need to know about the esports racing world. Plus, we have a guest on every show. So today is episode 3. The previous episodes, which you can go back and watch, of course, maybe not now. Wait until you finish this episode. We chatted to Danny Yukadea and we also chatted to Cem Bullock Bassi. But today is no different. The show on Friday will be dropping at 7 p.m. as it does on all of the other shows. And that is Central European time. But listen, we will get into depth about tournaments, talk about everything that's going on in the world that you need to know, and most importantly, ask our guests about their setup in the sim racing world. And he's waiting patiently, as you can already see. I've got a guest joining me today, the one and only Mr. Marcel Kiefer. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you for having me, Tom.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Just to double check, though, I asked this with the guests. I've noticed that you don't seem to have a steering wheel in your setup. What's going on, Marcel?
Well, my steering wheel is right here, so I just put it off for the webcam so you can see me better.
I can indeed. Now, listen, I think you're a perfect guest to have on this show to give an insight into the esports racing world. But let's just get a brief history of yourself in the esports racing world. Can you tell everybody about yourself?
Well, yeah, I'm Marcel. I'm 21 years old and I'm driving for Red Bull Racing Esports in Formula 1 Esports. And I started with sim racing professionally in 2017 with the inaugural year of the F1 Esports Series, where we also met the first time, Tom, at the semifinals. So yeah, back then I was still a little newbie, but since then I worked my way up and now I'm with the big boys.
I love the way you've put that, Marcel. Yes, you are a recent signing for the Red Bull Racing esports team. It's very exciting that you're with them. Let's just go back a little bit before that, because I've got a tweet. I've got a picture of you, Marcel. This is from last season, 2019, when you were driving, for Sports Pacer. You set yourself a target. Is this common for lots of drivers out there in the sim world?
Definitely. I mean, I couldn't achieve what I wanted to achieve with Racing Point. That's also one of the reasons why I switched to Red Bull, because I believe the team gives me the support that I need to, finish, as you can already see by the mode, in first place. That's my target. I think from every racing driver, we just want to be first place.
Okay, well, because you had that was your second year experience. The first year, I remember you missed out very close. You missed out on going to Abu Dhabi, which was a bit of a kind of setback for you. I remember we chatted about it. You thought you were going through. You thought you'd done enough to get there. Then I wanted to find out about your journey. So how did you take that little setback of not getting to Abu Dhabi? Did you go back more hours in the sim racing to get signed by a team?
Well, it didn't really matter too much to me. I was just knowing it wasn't enough from myself, so I had to work. I had to work harder to get where I want to be, and so I put in more work in the sim. But this is kind of my approach, which I always have. Even now, when I'm signed to Red Bull, I'm still spending as much time as I can, working hard, improving, and optimizing myself, because I don't think I will ever be perfect.
But obviously we know and we've seen your racing highlights over the last couple of years, Marcel, and a very famous victory in Silverstone. But there's just a little highlight of you against Freddie Rasmussen, who is another fantastic F1 esports racer. Talk us through what happens in this, Marcel.
As you say, an issue with the rig, and that's just heartbreaking.
Ready?
You just don't think about that, do you?
Really fair and clean racing. I was defending the inside. I wasn't expecting Freddy to break that late. I thought I had him, but I braked a bit too early, so he had a good run there, so I had to give him the space in the end. But I was hoping, because I knew there's a DRS straight, that I could get another run, but I noticed there that Freddy also has DRS from David, which I didn't expect, because the gap was in the second sector split enough so that there was over 1 second between us and David. Otherwise, I think I would have had Freddy again. But it was very fair and clean racing. I know I can race really hard with Freddy. So yeah, it was just really cool. Even though I lost the position, it was still fun.
Yeah, I mean that's what we love watching in the esports racing. I'm sat there on the host desk and just watching the race go back and forth, and obviously Freddie Rasmussen racing for Red Bull last season and the year before. Now you're wearing the jerseys. Are we going to see a kind of rivalry potentially when we get back for the F1 Esports Pro Series? Are we going to see it kind of like a Hamilton, Bottas situation in the team? Could that be a possibility?
Well, I would just call it like a Hamilton Rosberg, but without the toxicity. No, I'm getting along really, really well with with Freddy, so there won't be any issues. I think we are professional enough to deal with that situation and limit ourselves to what happens on track and what happens off track to work together and achieve the main goal, which is the Constructors' Championship. But yeah, definitely, I think a rivalry will just be the natural path of what's going to happen.
Yeah. Okay. Well, obviously you had in the Drivers' Championship 5th in 2018, a drop back 2019 to 6th. But listen, we know the abilities there for you, Marcel. I'm going to be with Red Bull Racing. The big moment, we've got a picture of it on your Twitter. This must be a very proud moment for you because it just says the amount of hours you've put in, the work you've done, you get the rewards. People notice that talent. Is that how it feels to you?
If I'm honest, yes, but at the same time, no, because as soon as I achieve something, I want to achieve more. I'm just willing to get more out of what's possible, and as soon as you hit a target, it gets you a standard, and you want to have likes. So at the same time, I'm really proud because looking back where I came from, thinking as a little boy I wouldn't make it into Formula One, and now being, even if it's just in the virtual world, a Formula One GP winner is something special. And I know I worked towards that by believing in myself, even though a lot of people told me I couldn't. And I always ignored these naysayers and just worked towards what I think I'm capable of. And I'm still thinking that I'm not even close to my potential.
Yeah. Well, we wish you all the best for finding that potential. Well, listen, Marcel, as I said, for everyone watching, perfect guest to talk through everything esports racing and hopefully give us an idea about your setup as well. Because I know for a fact you've been purchasing new equipment to aid your potential. Just to give you an overview of the topics we're going to chat about in today's episode, we're going to be talking about obviously how things have changed at the moment in the current climate for esports racing and sim racing. We're also going to be chatting about the idea of real life motorsport fans getting on board with F1. I know you were getting in a discussion about what we could do right now to boost sim racing. And also, there is going to be, for the first time in Nitro Nights, a quick fire round. Is that going to be all right with you, Marcel?
Sure.
Okay, good. All right then. Well, let's talk about it then. The current climate has affected everyone in the world right now. There aren't the live races on that we expect in the motorsport world, but there are still sim races going on, big tournaments happening, and you're streaming as well. What have you noticed over the last 3-4 weeks in terms of people getting on board with sim racing? What have you noticed from your perspective?
Well, in overall, there's no real life racing happening. So people try and find something to compensate that. And that's actually sim racing, because sim racing, a lot of real drivers get involved. There are many competitions going on, and they are all really fun to watch. Really good host, like professional. Also, you are involved. So I think some people also tune in for you.
No,
but
no one does this,
yeah.
Marcel. No one does it.
But yeah, the last couple of weeks definitely saw a boost.
Okay, and in terms of your routine, obviously we're seeing your setup at the moment. Has it made you put more hours in because you have this opportunity now? Have you noticed that?
Well, now I'm focusing more again on F1 esports, yes, because if there's any kind of event upcoming, I want to be as ready as I can. Obviously, it were a couple of months since I was really competitive about racing on the F1 game, but now we are getting back into it because it could be important. But in overall, the last couple of weeks and months, I was mainly focusing on content creation and building up a community which has fun watching, driving, just interacting. But now I'm also getting back into the competitiveness.
And in terms of you streaming, every sim racer seems to be setting up their streams. Have you noticed more people coming to watch you based on knowing your name from the F1 Esports?
I would say so, yeah. It was also from the beginning already. I had something like 30 to 50 viewers, which is on iRacing, where I have no name quite a lot. That's where I already streamed, but I then got also into F1 game streaming. And also there are a lot of people just tune in by knowing my name from the F1 Esports Pro Series.
And in terms of that little bit of, I wanted to kind of ask, because I haven't asked yet, when you're streaming, do you feel a certain pressure or responsibility to perform for the people that are watching you?
Actually not. Obviously I want to perform, but at the same time I feel like it's more about fun while streaming, and it's more about interacting with your stream rather than just being the quick racer. It's more like the full package instead of just being quick.
You don't feel that pressure because you're having fun, but do you feel a sense of responsibility now you're with Red Bull Racing Esports? Do you feel that kind of they'll be watching, your bosses, your employers?
Surely they will be watching, but they already signed me for a reason, so I believe in what I'm doing is right, and if there's a problem, I think I will hear immediately from the boss.
They'll call you up immediately. Marcel, get off stream now.
Not like that, but yeah.
But do you think what does a team help you to do? Can they give advice on setups? Can they give advice on the way to race, or do they take a backseat and say, "Well, you know what you're doing, Marcel. All the best." How does it work being signed by a team?
Well, I think it's kind of like a combination of both of these areas. The team knows I am with them for a reason, and they know my skills, but at the same time they try and put in as much work as they can to try and even improve my own capabilities, but at the same time also improve like the whole team. And to how that works with the signing, well, it's just like in every other sport, by performance. If you have the performance, if you have kind of the bigger picture which a team likes about a sportsman or an athlete, then they get in touch with you and you start talking, and it gets closer and closer to a contract, and if it works, it works, and if not, then you have to find another team.
Do you know, Marcel, if they signed you as well because of being a personality in your streams? I mean, your streams are very fun to watch. They're enjoyable. I think you get that balance right between having fun, but also showing us how good of a driver you are. Do you think that more teams are trying to sign personalities first and foremost to build the brand of sim racing?
Definitely. I think that's also not just in sim racing, but in already common esports like Counter-Strike or other esports like the traditional ones, that teams value personalities and influences a lot. But at the same time, it's not just down to personality. Still, the performance has to be there. But if both things can be combined, then it's perfect for them.
Okay, well, listen, I want to ask you about this because we did say we're going to talk about the real life motorsport world getting involved. There was this tweet that you saw and you responded to, Marcel, and it's from Josh Martin. We can zoom in a little bit and have a look, because he said they should genuinely look to swapping all of these cancelled F1 races for F1 esports rounds. Give the drivers and teams some additional visibility whilst introducing new fans to the series. And you responded to this. And you said, Marcel, you said F1 esports has to happen during the winter break, so all the doubters actually have a reason to tune in. If they still don't like it, fair enough. But a lot of F1 fans are desperate for racing, and why not fill that gap with actual good racing and grow the esports fan base. It goes on, this discussion. Josh Martin says, I think during the season is even better. It's when peak viewership of the sport is underway and would fit nicely with the gaps on the calendar. And you said agreed. So that was good from you guys, but we should at least try different things. That's what you were saying.
Yeah.
What do you take from this, Marcel? This discussion?
Well, it kind of, with also the current situation, proved my point right in some way. We don't have actual racing, and people are desperate for racing. And now the esports scene and sim racing scene is booming. A lot of people want to watch sim racing just because there is no real racing. That's why I thought in the winter break, and people are always just waiting for F1 or other motorsports to come back. There's no actual racing, and people just want to see racing, no matter what. And we all know the standards of F1 esports, how good all the drivers are, how good the racing is. I mean, otherwise you wouldn't be in there and wouldn't be so enthusiastic about it. So yeah, but in overall, we see that there might need to be a change in how F1 esports and overall esports sim racing is run. Instead of trying to make it a copy of the real world or try to implement it, maybe at the same time try and implement some parts but still make it a standalone thing. That's in my opinion what would probably be the right way to do it.
Okay, because I know for the last 3 years of working with yourself that the numbers of people watching has suddenly just spiked because of right now. So if that's the case, maybe we can have a tournament now when there isn't one. I mean, how that would look, I don't know. But you mentioned about the people who don't like sim racing or esports racing in general. You feel that if they watched a good race, they would be converted. That they would want to see more of it. You still think that?
I think to some degree, yes. But there are also some people that just don't like video game racing, competing or something. There can always be people that still don't like it. But I think in a situation like that, if people tune in and they are more willing to give it actually intention, not just think it's a joke or it's just a game or whatever, I think then there would be definitely a spike of people sticking with the series and new fans. I don't know how much. It could be 1%, it could be 50%. That's only a thing that you can find out by trying it. But I think we see it already now that the viewer numbers, people give it a go. And at the moment, it's at least on the F1 channel, just fans and stars racing against each other. I would wonder to see what happens when esports drivers, like the professionals, race against each other and people actually see how clean we are, how fast we are, how close the racing is, and how competitive just the overall racing is, because you don't see that in regular Formula One. That's just a fact because of the different kind of manufacturers. They all have a different concept in their head, the dirty air by the different cars and all these kind of conditions. In esports, we still have dirty air, but we still have the equal car performance. So everyone has the same chance. It's just down to setup, driver, and performance.
Okay, so bearing in mind all of those setups they have. Okay, well then, do you think right now then having F2 drivers, F3 drivers, current F1 drivers like Lando Norris and Nicholas Latifi with Williams joined the sim racing, do you think that is a good thing for sim racing right now, or to boost the numbers and more people to watch it? But do you think as a consequence, people like yourself, F1 esports pros that have been driving for the last few years, almost get forgotten about a little bit? Do you see any of that? What's your take?
I mean, on one side, yes, you can see it a bit like that, but at the same time, it's just good that esports racing gets more attention. That's like the main thing. If there's more attention towards esports racing, and people will think maybe, okay, that was cool. I might not just watch it for Lando or Nicolas or some F2 drivers. I will watch it because it was actually fun to watch and entertaining. So on one side, yes, sure, you could see it as a bit of a threat towards the esports pros, but at the same time, I'm just thinking we should see more the positives of it than any kind of negatives. I think it will boost the scene more than it will probably harm it. I don't think there will be any harm. Just some people said that maybe the racing is not as clean because it's not professionals, and that could make and create a bad look on the scene. But
Mm.
I think in overall, if people then tune in again, they see how good the racing is. If pros race, I don't think there will be any issues.
A lot of people watching Nitro Nights are new to esports racing, or they're currently racing and they want to improve. So what advice would you give to them? Let's start with their setup.
First of all, it matters what they want to achieve. If they just want to race for fun, it doesn't really matter too much. They could race on a controller, they could race on pretty basic steering wheels. But if they want to work towards esports or something similar where I and the pros are racing, they definitely should look into getting more expensive and better equipment like we use from Fanatec in the F1 Esports Pro Series. Just so it's kind of the same stuff that you would use there, and you can already get used to what you would use under competitive circumstances. But apart from that, if it's about driving and improving their driving, just take it slow. Watch tutorials. That's what I did about racing techniques and basic stuff like trail braking, racing line, braking points, all these kind of things that are just really basic. And you really just need in racing the basics and then try and improve on them. You learn them, and then in the end, you find your own way to even get faster with it. But there's no really big secret to getting fast when racing. It's just keeping in line with the basic techniques and trying to master them as much as you can, maybe adding a little note from your own driving to it.
A question that often comes up that I see is how do you deal with the rage that sometimes when you're not improving quick enough? How do you deal with the rage, Marcel?
Well, it's just part of the game. You just should focus on the positives, even though sometimes it's hard. Excuse me. It's not worth it. If you focus on the rage, you most of the time just focus on the negatives, and then you kind of set yourself up in a mindset where you will just fail and fail and fail, and you will get even more frustrated. So if you focus on, okay, this happened now, just get back into the zone and do what you did before. If it fails, it fails. Just be okay with failing, because it will be part of the game every day.
Okay, I like that. Failing is just part of the game, and you improve on that. All right, well, listen, I think that's given some people some help there. Are you ready? Because people will get to know you now for the quick fire round, Marcel.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you don't look nervous, which is important. You shouldn't be. This is a bit of fun to get to know you. So I'll start the clock. You've got 60 seconds. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, your time starts now. Hockenheim or Silverstone Grand Prix?
Silverstone.
Okay, best TV series you've watched?
Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Okay, Sebastian Vettel or Lewis Hamilton?
Vettel.
Okay, favorite video game?
Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
Okay, and favorite food?
Oh, that's a hard one. I'd just say pizza.
Okay, good answer. Pineapple on pizzas, yes or no?
Never tried it, so I would say no.
If you could trade places with one person for one day, who would that person be?
My future me, because it will be better than today.
Worst job you've done?
Oh, that would be harsh. I'm not saying that.
Okay. All right,
I think
finally,
you know what I want to say.
Okay. Cardio or weights?
Cardio.
Okay, and rank these German drivers in your preferred order. Nico Hülkenberg, Nico Rosberg, Michael Schumacher, Sebastian Vettel.
Schumi, Sepp, Rosberg, Hulk.
There you go. Time is done there. I actually made it a little bit longer, but that's because I was enjoying myself. Good questions, good answers. There you go. I feel like we've got to know you a little bit there, Marcel.
Yeah, that was good. That was fun.
Okay. All right. Listen, Marcel, we're getting to the end of the show. We've got to know you. That's a new round that's going to be coming up on Nitro Nights for future episodes. Final thoughts then, in terms of what you are up to right now. We know you have become part of Red Bull. We know whenever the F1 Esports Pro Series starts again, that you will be competing. You don't know your teammates yet. It's an exciting time because there's going to be lots of movement. But for the foreseeable future, what are your plans, Marcel?
Just keep on grinding, waiting, being ready for whatever is gonna happen. Getting back into competitive racing now, and yeah, just waiting what the team tells me, and then I will execute the order.
Okay. All right. So people can watch your streams. They'll be up. Are there any tournaments that you have been watching on the weekends that have stood out for you that you've enjoyed?
Definitely the F1 one, and also the not the GP series from Veloce. That was also quite big, also in combination with F1. So yeah, I really enjoyed these two.
And where do you sit when people say that they want the races to be serious as opposed to fun to watch? I mean, where do you stand on that?
Yes, I kind of get it in some way, but at the same time, as long as it's not a championship race, I think we should all still bear in mind that it's mainly for fun and entertainment. And as soon as there's actually championship behind it where the points matter, I think everyone will get a bit more serious and put their game face on, and then they will see the racing that they were waiting for.
Perfect. Well, listen, Marcel, as I tell everybody and you, I hope you're following us on Twitter at Nitro Nights. Are you following us, Marcel?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, listen, Marcel's doing it. You should do the same as well, because that is where you are going to get all the information of future episodes. Don't forget, Monday, Wednesday, and on Friday, roughly about 7 p.m. Central European time, we'll be dropping the next episode. So stay tuned, keep up to date. And if there's anything you would like for us to put in the shows, then you know what to do. Leave us a comment. Marcel, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on today. Have you enjoyed it?
Definitely. Thank you so much to you and Nitro, the whole team, for having me. It was a pleasure. Had good fun, especially with the quickfire questions.
Well, that's good. Well, listen, we'll let you put your wheel back up into your rig. It's a pleasure. To everyone watching, thank you for taking... Yeah.
There we go.
There we go. Listen, thank you very much for watching. That's it for today. As I say, we'll be back on Friday and then the next episode on Monday and Wednesday. You know the deal by now. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again next time.